One memory that I would want to keep from the whole trip was probably the children's ministry, because I was able to connect with a lot more kids this time. And it was really cool to see, even though these kids could have been like abused the night before or didn't sleep last night, they were still happy and running around and laughing and tickling each other. That was cool.
If I got to keep one memory from this trip, it would be the way the kids smiled. Those kids, they walk hours to come to school, they leave their houses at 4 in the morning, but they smile. Every time you look at them, they're just smiling. They're so happy to see you that they can't help but smile. That's not something I get to see in Canada, and that's something that I'm never gonna forget.
Out of all the things that you could remember, the one thing I would remember would be the kids' ministries. Just seeing every day when we went there, the kids, just the joy in their hearts. It brought so much joy to my heart. There's so much that I couldn't have in a regular day here.
If I could only keep one memory from this trip, it'd be the children's faces, the joy, the laughter that was in them, especially when I was chasing them around.
So if I could keep just one memory, it'd probably be when we visited the Sinkhole. Before we went down, we prayed on the hilltop outside, and it was an overcast day, and I opened my eyes at one point, and there was just this one beam of sun that was just illuminating us on the hilltop.
Walking down the Sinkhole, I remember as we were walking down, the incense and the smell was very heavy and strong. You could feel the presence of darkness, but I remember as we were singing worship songs, there was one song where it was like, "Come flood this place and fill the atmosphere." And that really hit me. I remember looking up and seeing the light shine down. So it was cool that we could feel darkness turn into light.
The Sinkhole experience was extremely impactful, I think, for all of us because it represents the spiritual oppression that takes place there. And for us to overcome our fears and actually physically go down into a dark, spiritually oppressive place like that, and to worship down there and to bring some light to darkness, that's a pretty impactful moment for all of us.
They're building an orphanage on their property that they had just recently acquired, and what we were doing was clearing the ground for the baby house. So they're going to go find abandoned babies and raise them in those houses together.
So the actual ceremony was our group, and then it was the committee, the main committee of the impact team. So it was there were a few of the locals on the committee, and we got to pray together with them for the orphanage and for all the babies that were gonna be there, and we also got to worship with them. So they were singing in Spanish, but it was really cool because it didn't really matter because we were all worshiping the same God, and we were all praying for these children that were going to be there. So it was kind of cool to see that connection through faith.
One of the biggest things Les and Rita, who are the directors of Impact Ministries, couldn't stress enough was the fact that it was due to our Christmas Eve service. The offering that everyone gave was one of the reasons that this was able to take place. Had that offering not taken place, we would have been in Guatemala and there would be no orphanage. There would have been no groundbreaking service. It was because you guys gave that we were able to go down there and we were able to represent you as a church. As an entire church, we got to put our shovels into the ground and be able to see that we have done something. Our church has done something bigger than we could have imagined. We're going to be housing, I think they want at least 8 babies. 8 babies who, in Guatemala, if you're abandoned, you don't have a future.
Something important that I learned was the importance of worshiping passionately and courageously without worrying about what other people think.
God showed me what it was like to live with little. I come from a very blessed family. I don't really struggle very much compared to these people. Yet we met kids who only ate once a day. And if it was Friday, the only meal they got that day was at school because Impact Ministries provide a meal for each one of their kids. And then they didn't eat again until Monday. I tell my parents I'm starving all the time. I don't know what the word means anymore.
The thing that I learned when I was down there, it wasn't so much learning, but God showing me that I need to put Him first in my life, that He's the most important, that I shouldn't be making decisions for myself, rather that He should be doing it for me.
One thing I learned is that I need to improve my listening skills. That I actually need to start listening to people more and learning how to listen and act sincerely, not just pretend.
One night, Les was talking to us and he wanted us all to kneel if we felt God calling us to do that. And then he wanted us to listen and then share what we thought God was speaking to us. And as I was kneeling and we were praying, I heard God telling me about how everything that I've been feeling, whether it's about self-worth or whatever, He basically told me, Danae, you're being selfish. I love you, but you're being selfish.
There was a moment where I was doing chalk with some of the girls, and I just looked at them and I realized, wow, like, that's beauty. It was just an amazing moment. And I know in my life sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and say, wow, I'm just so ugly. I don't look nice. I don't. But then now I'm here and I look in the mirror and I think, no, I am beautiful because I'm one of God's children. And I think back to the faces of those little girls.
One thing that God taught me about is giving my life away, and just when everyone was so thankful. If it was the teachers at the school, the kids, my sponsor girl, they were all just so thankful for everything we were doing, and that just shocked me because to me it felt like I wasn't doing anything for them. It felt like they were giving so much more to me than I was giving to them. And I just realized if that's what giving your life away is like, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
You just can't get the same kind of learning and experience here, and I think it's so important to see a different community of God's people. And one thing that I really learned when I was there too, that I had mentioned that I wanted to experience even before we left, is kind of seeing the same God here and there and bridging the gap, because it's easy to go there and see all these crazy, powerful, spiritual things that are happening in the faith of the people and think, oh wow, this is something different, you know, and you kind of be thinking, well, maybe I could even move here someday because look at this faith and this kind of stuff, and then kind of not realizing that that could happen here.
When you first sign up, you'll have a list of expectations that you think will happen. And once you get down there, all those expectations will be blown out of the water. It takes going to another country to find out who you are in God.
The reason some people should go on a trip like this is because you learn a ton and you're stretched in ways you could never be stretched if you stayed at home. I don't know how many times we were totally out of our comfort zone, but it was a good thing.